Welcome back to the All-Purpose Pod for an All-Purpose Life, wherever you are today and however you are listening to the Call Me Mr. You, the podcast. We thank you for making us a part of your morning, your day, and your week with your weekly mirror check before you change the world. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Twitter. Download, subscribe to our shows at the Call Me Mr. You and at Football Talk with Bo, wherever you enjoy your podcast. Thanks again for joining us. We have some poll questions up on our Twitter feeds. Bo, good morning.
Morning.
How's it going, man?
Yeah.
Got a coffee in hand?
Absolutely.
Where's your dog sitting, man? Dog's sitting your life right now, huh?
Yeah. My buddy is down in Jamaica right now, and he's gone for a little over a week. So, yeah. No, that's cool, and he's got an awesome dog. So it's fun. It's fun. It's actually one of my old teammates. So, we've known each other a long time. So it's cool. Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, we got our Twitter poll questions up. I've got a couple of them out there. First one, what's your biggest overreaction to the NFL preseason so far? I'm sure you guys got plenty of those, but drop those in our live comments if you can, so we can see those. What's your biggest overreaction or the biggest overreaction in the NFL preseason so far? Second poll question we got out there, what's the worst interaction you had with a fellow football fan or a rival? I bet you both got a story for that one. What's the worst interaction with a fellow football fan or rival? I'm going to open up with this real quick, man. I don't know what it is about football, but it makes us do crazy things. I thought it was a sports thing. If you go to the UK, you know that football, FUTBOL, has those kind of historic overreactions to sports stuff. Yeah. But I just thought it was a sports thing, but it's really not. I don't see it in baseball. I don't really see it in basketball much at all. I don't see it in tennis or golf. It seems to be connected to football, the U.S. version, for some reason. I don't know what it is. But
soccer definitely has it.
What are you saying?
Soccer definitely has it.
Well, yeah, that's separate. We ain't going into there. That's a whole show. You know what I'm saying? But I don't understand how we morph into a totally different person without morals, no common sense when football is in play. I ain't demeaning sports because let's be real. It's been a part of my life for all of my life. I'm just asking for a friend, man. How did it involve in something that requires you to have a medical excuse for throwing unidentified flying objects at athletes or other fans? I don't understand how we get to that place. That's why we're asking the question about what's your worst interaction with a fellow football fan or rival. I got plenty of them, but I'm just like, it's crazy because I know the fact that fan is short for fanatic. It's not really an excuse for criminal behavior, right? I ain't a lawyer, but I learned taking some courses in criminal justice that you actually assault somebody with your words. That was new to me. I thought assault was like something you do with your hands, but you can assault with your words. Now, battery is something you do with your hands. Only you can't batter somebody with your words. It's the actual act of physically harming somebody. But with assault, you can be on your computer, on your social media, hint, Twitter, pay attention. You actually cause imminent harm to somebody with typing in words on your Twitter feed. It's considered assault. Now, for all those who didn't shut me out, you heard the magic words. It's an open and shut case against you if you're using your social media account in that way. It's like we do that kind of stuff, especially, I don't know why it is, but when football season comes around, I see a switch flipped when it comes to the posts, how they sound, the tenor, the tone. It's just different. I'm like, what happened? It's just football. You don't play for the team. It's still a game at the end of the day, right? Yeah, you betting on it, I'm sure. Some people are. Or you got rooting interest because your son's going to be he's on the practice squad or whatever it is, but it's still a game at the end of the day. But we turn this thing into nightmare scenarios, man. I don't know what that's about, man. But what kind of interaction have you had with a fellow football fan or rival? Anything that nice and juicy you can share with us?
I mean, man, there's so many to choose from.
Worst one. Share worst one.
So probably the worst one I saw. It was crazy because it was over the top in like just a dumb way. So I forget the team we were playing, but this opposing fan, this was back during the Seahawks Super Bowl run, and we beat the brakes off this team. I want to say it was the Cardinals, but I don't remember exactly. But there were quite a few blowouts that season anyway. But we come out and this dude is literally jumping on the hood of cars. that have Seahawks stickers because he was so mad his team lost. Like, I don't know how much beer you got to drink for that to be the good idea in your head, but man, so much. Fortunately, Seattle PD ended up being close by, and this dude didn't get rolled by the people that own those cars because he was doing it through the tailgating section. And I have to imagine that was not going to end well if Seattle PD wasn't relatively quick to act there.
I mean, I got a few stories. I think the one that was the worst was the one that didn't happen to me, but I saw it, you know, and that was like, I mean, be honest with me, those physical kind of encounters and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Usually in times past, I'm game for it. So if that's what you want to do, I'm okay. I was totally cool with throwing hands. I'm a different person now, so I don't really think like that anymore. But I think the biggest one was at the Giants wasn't their first one of their most recent Super Bowl runs. You know the one. Mm-hmm. And we were playing Tampa Bay. I was actually living in at the time. I was living there for about almost 4 years. So I was at Ray J. It was actually my first time at a game. All my years in New York, I never went to the Meadowlands. Couldn't really afford it. It wasn't really a financial priority. But went to Ray J my first time, so I was over the top. I'm like, wow, I'm actually at a playoff game with my team in it. I didn't know how to act. I think the game ended 19-7 or something like that. But Jeff Garcia was out there doing what Jeff Garcia does, right? And the fans were like, they were hot from the beginning. The Tampa Bay fans out there in their pewter and black, they were already hot to start with. You know, they were already saying stuff. They were shouting obscenities. Sisters, my wife and I, I'm like, wow. It took all in me to not go back there a few rows back and slap somebody. You know, and they were just saying, I'm like, you gotta let it ride, baby. Let it ride. As long as there's no touching and no throwing up objects, they can say all they want to. So I showed more restraint than I thought I had in me. Put it like that. I want to slap the fire out of somebody. But they were just talking, yelling, and before you know it, I think around the second quarter, the game started getting away from the Buccaneers. It was kind of, they never really had it in the hand to start with. It was trying to get away from them, and them fans, they went irate. I mean, everywhere, all across Ray J, you could see medical personnel carrying folks out on stretchers. I'm not like 3-4 different places in the entire. I mean, this was like all at one time. And I'm like, and people just punch each other in the face and hit each other in the head with bottles, and they were just like, wow, this is a game. You're out here traumatizing these children. This is a game. A game you're not even playing. You don't work for the team. You're not personnel. You don't even coach. You're just a fan that bought a ticket to come watch your team play and watch them lose to the Giants. This is what happens to us, and I don't understand that. And people call social media a cesspool, but we feel inclined to help make it that. I don't understand that. I got so many so-called diehard fans trying to convince me that their tweets are innocent and they post and nobody's really being hurt by what they say. Yeah, I'm not buying that stuff, man, because if you call somebody an inbred, it affects them.
Yeah. I mean,
it's throwing a rock and thinking that the rock's not going to hurt them. It hurts. Those words hurt. It leaves lasting impressions, and we do that kind of stuff, especially on Twitter. Can you agree with me? Especially on Twitter, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You can make, especially Twitter. You can kind of make it the environment you want to see, though, because when I see people that consistently devolve in that way, a lot of times I just kind of mute their profile, I'll unfollow, I'll mute them, and then that kind of stuff is showing up. So my feed tends to be more positive. You still get dumb stuff in there, like, but when it's people just really going that route, it's like, I don't need to see any of that, because I mean, it doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't even benefit what they're trying to say, because I mean, at the end of the day, if your team got smoked, there's no amount of calling me names that's gonna matter, right? Like,
right?
I mean, it's just like, okay, yeah. I mean, I get it. You're mad. Like, we've all been there.
It's amazing to me, and I notice this in other sports too. I mean, I don't care if it's boxing, tennis, golf, even basketball and baseball.
Mhm.
If you lose to somebody, you got no problem owning it and say, you know what, this guy was playing out of his mind.
Yep.
He was just hitting all the shots. You give props. That don't happen amongst football fans. I don't ever see it. You keep on denying the fact that the other team was good and they beat you. It's like it was a figment of your imagination. Like it never happened. You can't admit it happened. I'm like, what is it about football that makes football fans act like this? Because there's some kind of psychosis that I'm missing here. It happens in every other sport everywhere except in the United States football.
Yeah.
The fans will not give each other props. They will not say, you know what, your team was better than our team. They will never do it. They'll say you're lucky. They say you got a bad call.
Yep.
Every excuse in the world will come out of that grab bag. But they would not ever say, you know what, your team was better than ours. I even see it in college football too.
For sure.
Michigan did what they did the past 2 years. And you know what? I ain't seen one Ohio State fan yet. Now, I got some really good ones on my Twitter feed. I'm pretty fortunate. Not one of them has ever said, you know what? You guys were better than us last year. They won't say it.
Yeah.
They won't say it.
It's always we should have won, but whatever, right? And it's just like, okay, I mean, coulda, woulda, shoulda, you didn't, right? Like, even if you were the better team, you weren't on that day. So
they won't say it.
Yep.
I'll even take you were a better team that day. I don't like that one, but it's the lesser of two evils. I'll take it. I want you to say that we were better than you that year because we were, but they won't say it.
Yeah.
They won't say it. What is it about football that makes us, want to go that route? I mean, all jokes aside for a second, though, pride has a really ugly underbelly, man. And we say stuff, that is in good fun, but we throw so many rocks at folks and we attack people. And it always seems to happen around football season. I want to ask you a question, though, because this is something that I think only you could probably answer.
Okay.
Much better than myself. But we're talking about our poll question. One of our poll questions was, what's the worst interaction you had with a fellow football fan or rival? But I want to switch for a little bit. Being in Seattle and being a part of the Seahawks culture, I want to ask you something. When you always hear about the 12, right? I guess it's in their way, the fans are unofficially a part of the team, right?
The 12
that came from that on or off to the field. Do you see entitlement from the fans? Like, you know what, we are part of the team, so we deserve to be heard, or we should have kind of treatment. Do you see entitlement at all coming from, that 12 thing? It kind of has some legs and it kind of grew, especially during the championship year and the years when they had the Legion of Boom and they were doing really good. That 12 thing was becoming, larger than life, so to speak. I mean, you even heard it. I don't think they played internationally at all when they were constructed together. I'm not sure they went overseas, but you've seen the 12 become a real big part of the culture and really prominent. Do you see entitlement coming from the fans on and off the field as being part of?
You kind of did a little bit from like bandwagon fans, but like actual Seahawks fans, not so much.
Okay.
And I think you would encounter that with bandwagon fans in any city, right? Is they weren't there for the struggle. They're there for, they're going to potentially win a ring, or they're going to, they're at least really good. And so it's trendy to be part of it. So they want to be loud and be like, oh yeah, whatever. But as soon as, your team starts to dive off a little bit, then they're nowhere to be seen again. Those are the ones that would kind of take it to a weird level. But like most true Seahawks fans, not really. And I mean, obviously we have one of the loudest stadiums, but we always have. So when we had the Kingdom, right? The Kingdom was a monstrous stadium. And it was huge, but it was also incredibly loud. So in the late 80s, early 90s, you could actually get a penalty for crowd volume. And in that dome with that many seats, because you could be in the 300 level, and the 300 level section by itself went to double Q, right? So like that is a just insane amount of seats on one floor, right? And you got yeah, like it was an enormous stadium. But yeah, it was funny because you would be there and the crowd would be going crazy. They'd throw a flag. unsportsmanlike conduct on the crowd itself. It cost your team 5 yards. And then what would it do with the crowd? You get louder, right? So we had decibel level readers back then, and it was similar to being behind a Boeing 747 inside that building. And so it was cool. So the city has always like rallied around their team, made a ton of noise. Even back in '92 when we went 2-14, it wasn't a sellout crowd, but there was still a lot of people in that stadium. So, it just it's definitely a football town, and the people that are true Seahawk fans didn't really take it to that weird entitlement area, but bandwagon fans, there was definitely some of that.
How can you tell the difference between the two of them? They all have the same jerseys on. How did you know?
You'd listen to them talk. You'd be like, yeah, no, man. I mean, it'd be true with you guys. It'd be true.
You're like, who's Bobby Wagner, right? Now you know who they are.
Exactly.
Listen, for all you guys that are listening to the show, let's try a social experiment. I know that you're going to hate it because I know you. But when I listen to your comments, we read what you type. So we know you're going to hate this, but let's try it anyway, okay? Now, I would love for you, and I think Bo would too, love to see you give your rival team some props. No shade. I know it's more fun to be a hater until you get hated on, then it's not fun anymore, right? I get it. But try this. Give your rival team some props. In print, say the words. It's therapy for you. Dr. You and Dr. Bo trying to help you out today. Type it out. I know afterwards you probably have to go vomit, but that's fine. It had to be on video. Go in your privacy of your own toilet, in your master bathroom, and hurl to your heart's content. But before you do that, can you give fair praise to the team that beat your favorites consistently and not call them cheaters, not call them lucky? Just a simple social media experiment. It's not going to hurt you. Well, it probably will, but
it'll definitely hurt.
It'll be over shortly. Go to your Twitter or Facebook or whatever and type out a nice sentiment for the team that beat your team consistently. If you can do that, you might become a better person. At the end of the day, you might grow and evolve and become a better person, a better human being.
I feel like
until you can do that,
it's early in the day for that.
You know who we're talking about. Until you can do that, that's who we're talking about. You guys.
Now, so on that front, like one thing I always give the Rams a ton of credit for whatever reason, they play the Hawks tough. Like the Hawks, I mean, I don't know what it is, and it hasn't mattered who the coach was. Like even Jeff Fisher, like he would pull out the weirdest things, and we'd get smoked on some special teams play. To be fair, he was a special teams guru to say the least. But yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, the Seahawks just struggle with the Rams. So I always give them a ton of credit because even if they're having a bad year, I never look at our team going in there like, oh yeah, we're gonna beat them down. It's like, man, I don't know. Any given Sunday, here we go.
I think the Seahawks have challenges with the NFC West. Period, don't they?
No, I mean usually they take care of the Cardinals, and then the Niners really just depends on the year. The Cardinals they relatively consistently get those wins, but the Rams you pretty much go into the year thinking you're going to split with the Rams.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Well, football season get ready to kick off, man. The NFL and college football. Mm-hmm. We probably have more fights on the field than we had in recent years already in the first week. The chatter and the physical altercations, even with college football fans, couch burnings and all kinds of stuff is going on. Those numbers are probably up as well, and that's not a good thing. I think that history has been teaching us, but we haven't learned anything.
Well, preseason, there's always quite a few because there's a lot of chirping and there's a lot of guys.
Man. In the first week, you gotta show me numbers, man. In the first week, no, Bo. This has been more than
a lot
the
of
whole
time.
preseason, yes, but in the first week.
Well, no, there's generally more in the preseason and
I agree with that.
Preseason games.
Not in the
Just
first
you
week.
got a lot of guys that are trying to get on the team, and frustrations start to build. Like you see fights, especially in practice, all the time.
I think the numbers I've been hearing they seem to be a lot higher in the first week to me, man. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but
what's the number you're seeing?
I thought like a half a dozen.
Okay.
That's a lot to me.
Yeah.
It's the first week of the preseason. It's like, you ain't hitting your main guys already. The guys you're going see this. I know it's extra hot too in most places around the country too. I get that, but you got guys like Travis Kelce punching people like,
yeah,
really? You already got an edge. You need to have an extra one by punching your old line. Really?
Well, so that was in practice, right?
I thought they were playing.
Yeah, I thought that was a practice or camp or whatever. Because there was a few of them. I think DK Metcalf, I think, was involved in one on the practice field.
I heard that last year. Didn't I hear that last year? That seems familiar to me.
Yeah. There's also a reason that DK gets an unsportsmanlike conduct almost every single game.
Why would that be?
Well, because he just doesn't let stuff go, and he doesn't. He'll carry it a little bit too long, right? Like if they're chirping back and forth, it's cool.
He's very sensitive.
But if it goes a little too long, or as soon as you put a hand on somebody or something, then the laundry comes out and it's a problem. But for whatever reason, I would say a good, 60% of the games, maybe 65% of the games last year, he had an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty because he'd be chirping with the DB, and then sometime throughout the game, he'd get that, right? 15-yard penalty, absolute drive killer most of the time. So as much as I think DK is an amazing athlete, that's something they need to work on coaching a little bit, because man, they need
to coach him out of that.
They need to dial that down a bit, because
out of that, bro?
It's not good football.
It seems a little bit deeper. I mean, because like I said, his name is. I could be wrong. Correct me if you guys have some stats in front of you, or you have you Google it or whatever. But his name comes up. It feels like every year since he's been in the league, his name comes up with something like this. There was a game last year. I wish I remember what it was. It was on NFL on Fox out here, and that situation happened that you're talking about.
Yep.
And they had all the little hand fighting and whatnot.
Yep.
And there's some shoving. I think DK took a swipe at somebody, something like that.
Yeah,
that happens all the time with him. He's the only one, but it happens a lot with him. I'm like, can you coach him out of that? You sure?
I mean,
there's some other stuff going on there. If you're fighting every time you get out there.
Yeah, I mean,
calls you a name.
And I appreciate you having an edge when you hit the field. Like, you need that, right? Like, you want to be running hot. I get it. But when you hear that whistle, you got to be able to shut it down and get back and play another down. Because, I mean, backing it up 15 yards or potentially getting booted from a game doesn't help your team, doesn't help your teammates.
No.
So those are some things that I'd like to see kind of phase out of his game. But, then you see things like that pop up in practice. So it's like, okay, I was thinking maybe he was headed down that road because he's starting to do a lot more interviews, stuff like that. Like, okay, maybe he's maturing a little bit. We're going to get away from just like dumb penalties. And then, you hear about squabbling in practice and you're like, man, come on, get it together.
I don't know if the days of the master manipulator back then, the secondaries are still around. Them guys like Ed Reed, them guys, they'll be all in your head and rent free. I don't even have people like that out there right now. There's some guys that will fight you and stuff and push you and shove you and whatnot and try to get you out of your game. Those guys are still in the league, but
sure,
if DK can't handle this kind of, It's downhill from here.
Well, the thing that's funny is I think he would be better if they were kind of like beating on him a little bit. What it looks like he really gets him spun up is when they're chirping at him, because it seems to escalate. And I always found that hilarious. I was never a big talker on the field, so if I had somebody who was talking a lot to me, it's like, all right, I mean, let's see what you got. Like, you can say whatever you want. I don't care.
That's worse. The chirping is what you can't handle.
Right?
That's why I said coaching is not going to. I don't know if coaching is going to fix that. But anyway,
yeah.
Let's keep going. But Auburn, Alabama, there was an incident that happened. I think it was in 2010, and their rivalry is long standing since the late 1800s or whatever. I got a buddy of mine. He went to and played for Auburn, and he gets physically sick from the rivalry between them and the Tide. He gets like sick for real. But there's one fan, a guy named Harvey Updike. You ever heard of him before?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he poisoned the legendary oak tree on Toomer's Corner in Auburn with a herbicide.
Man,
an iconic 130-year-old tree had to be cut down because he poisoned it. Got charged with 1 count of first-degree criminal mischief. It's like this is about football, or are we talking about something else here? That's why I said the same thing about DK Metcalf. We're talking about football. It is a football situation because I feel like it's not that.
No,
like
that's
you put another baggage into it onto the football field where you actually get paid and where you actually work. You bring that other stuff into it. This guy went out of his way because I don't think that Auburn and Alabama are 5 miles from each other. I mean, you traveled from your home to Auburn. You took a drive, or a flight, or whatever the distance is, to go poison a 130-year-old tree because you don't like the other team.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not a football related thing. That's a you're not all quite there.
Something is wrong.
Yeah.
We talked a while back about when you and I were talking about rivalries. We talked about the Yankees and the Red Sox. And if you look at it, it always comes up the same thing. 73-year-old or 72-year-old at the time, Don Zimmer, charging the mound at Pedro Martinez from the Red Sox.
Yep.
Pedro sidesteps him, grabs him by the head, misses his own body weight, drives him to the mound. And everybody cursed Pedro's name like, oh, you hurt that old man.
I mean, old man was charging.
He charged around with his hands out like he was going to do something like, you going to throw hands at 72? I want to see it myself. Pedro said, all right, that's all right. Sidestepped him. Big Zim went down, and that was, but there was so much stuff going on during that rivalry, but it was like, it got so personal. It transcended the sport. That's my concern is about some of these incidents. You're taking, it's not sports related. When Kelsey was talking about how he had the issue with the guy that I don't know if it's a D lineman, whoever it was, his response was not good to me. I forgot what he said exactly, but he was saying basically that he refused to apologize to the guy. But he said this is all about what happens in football. I'm like, ooh, that's a dangerous precedent to me that's being set. You're saying that whatever happens on this field, almost like whatever's happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's not really a good thing in context. He's saying that this happened in football, in the football setting, so it's kind of legal. It's all good. I'm like, no, you punched somebody.
Yeah.
Ask the other guy, is it all good? You hit him, and probably said stuff to him on top of that. He said, I refuse to apologize. It's just football. It's settled. Wow. People poisoning trees, charging mounds, like it's getting real easy. Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Hardin. That's an extreme example, or is it? Or is it what's been happening? That was just 9 years ago.
That was a pretty example, but
because I'm saying, but this is what rivalry has evolved into. It. It's like it seems like it's isolated incidents, but it's kind of not. It's like this has been happening. There's more. Conor McGregor. I don't want to say the guy left in Nurmagomedov. The dude took one of those railings that you used to see at the NBA game when the players are coming in with their outfits on, and they passed by those railings. Conor McGregor took one of those, walked outside to where the bus was, windows, trying to get to Khabib.
Yeah.
Injuring other fighters and UFC staff in the process. had another dude in my hometown trying to disgrace the name of my hometown of Brooklyn.
I mean, he did get punched in the head a lot, so.
I mean, she kind of goes too far. I mean, Ali and Frazier is my last example. I mean, I was right the year I was born, so I had to get that stuff afterwards. I wasn't there for it, but name calling, call him Uncle Tom, and call him gorillas and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Ali not going into the draft, and Frazier was talking about him even after when he had Parkinson's disease. Didn't even know where he was.
Yep.
Even she started talking about I caused him to have Parkinson's, got hit him in the head so much. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
You see how far it can get. This is years later. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, but they can definitely escalate because I mean, you look at the Tyson Holyfield, right? Like he bit dude's ear off in the ring. I mean,
ugly, man.
That's some next level stuff. Or the Malice in the Palace, right? You got Ron Artest running up in the fans to beat up some fans. So I mean, or even on the field, like it can boil over, way worse than what like DK has done. I remember watching Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan.
Oh, brother.
Man, one of the most epic on-field fights you've ever seen. And I mean, Johnson got some hits in. Like he ripped that helmet off and was just
that was crazy, man.
Yeah. I mean, and that was another scenario where it was, Finnegan was sitting there talking. And the thing that was crazy is Andre Johnson was owning him all day. Like Andre Johnson had a good day and they were beating the brakes off of the Titans. And yeah, I mean, they both get booted. It was probably the most exciting part of that game, unfortunately.
All right. Look who chimed in. 49ers and Rams are both great teams. Who's that talking to us, Bo?
That's my mom.
What's up, Mom?
This morning. I like it.
I love it. I'm assuming she's a Hawks fan, right?
Yeah, so she's a Hawks fan, but also a Raiders fan. So
okay.
A lot of my family grew up, down in the Bay Area. So
my dad was a Raiders fan, but I have no idea how he got there. He was born in New York like me. Moved to Cali, moved to San Jose. All of a sudden, I'm like the Raiders? When did this happen? Totally cool. No judgment. But yeah, so I want to give a few. I want to help out some of the folks that we've been talking about that have issues with their attitude and their anger. I want to kind of offer a few tips, if you don't mind. Indulge me for a second, Bo. Let me just kind of help them out before we get on with our NFL preseason stuff and everything and Pac-12. So, number one, you don't play for the team. Hear my heart. You don't play for the team. They don't pay you. If you call yourself the number one fan, it's nearly impossible to prove this, okay?
Yep.
Somebody else somewhere is saying the exact same thing you are. You can't all be number one, okay? It's really hard to prove, so season that with salt, okay? Okay. Number two, if you do play for the same team, you shouldn't be playing for them because you're taking a sports rivalry too far. If players like we're talking about are getting fined and suspended for doing stuff, if you were on a team, what would you get, right? If you're a season ticket holder, you think the team owes you something, but you don't. Why? Because you don't play for the team, right?
Yep. Now you're paying.
Then we're done. 2 more, then we're done, right? Number 4, you don't play for the team. You're not an official or unofficial representative of the team. You can't burn couches and be legally, exempt from paying consequences. You can't punch rival fans in the face. You can't shout racial slurs. You can't throw objects. You can't throw batteries and drinks at people and their families. You can't spray paint on objects that don't belong to you. You make the fan base look really bad. This has to be pulled out here for this kind of stuff. The worst fan base. This is how you get on the list.
Yeah.
By doing stuff. This is what makes our teams look bad because you drive the negative impact up by doing dumb stuff like this. Mm-hmm. It's not good, okay? It's bad. I know that when you're in 4th grade, you missed that work assignment, but this is bad, okay? This is a bad thing. And lastly, and most important, I want to stretch this very, very clear out. Don't want you to miss this. It's really important. I'm gonna say it real slow so everybody in the back can get it, okay? I want you to miss this. This is the most important part of everything I'm going to say all day today. You don't play for the team. You understand that? Point number 1, you don't play for the team. Number 2, you don't play for the team. Number 3, 4, and 5, you don't play for the team. You are not employed by them, okay? You're just a fan with a T-shirt and a hat. You don't belong.
And even if you were, you'd get fired for what a lot of these people do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And put out of the league. You'd be in the CFL or something, or try to be in XFL or something.
Yep.
It's crazy. All right, bro. NFL preseason, what you got, man?
I mean, there was good and bad, right? Like there was
Think about the guy from was it Chicago?
Yeah, Justin Fields.
No,
yeah,
not him. The other guy.
Which one? The receivers?
Maybe you can look it
up. Which guy are you talking about? Like there was plenty
of had
a
really wicked day,
things in the game. Like
a guy that had a regular day that you tell me about. I'm trying to. This is live podcasting, y'all. Nathan Rourke from the Jags.
Oh, from the Jags?
Yeah, he broke 4 tackles, right?
Oh, yeah, they're back up. Gotcha. Yeah, I thought you said the Bears. I'm like, I don't know.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Yeah. So the Jags, their backup quarterback, he played last season. I think he's actually a third stringer. But this one play alone probably gets him that third spot on the team.
Wow.
But it was impressive. It showed a lot of poise. Ball was a dart. It was it was impressive to watch. But yeah, basically he had 3 guys hit him in the backfield that he was able to get out of the grasp. He was actually wrapped up and then threw a dart 20 yards down the field for a touchdown before he was tackled.
Wow.
So it was impressive to see. Let's see his Bigsby. Yeah. So,
okay.
But yeah, he played, I guess, last year up in Canada in the CFL. So.
Wow. Okay.
So didn't know who he was, but watching that was pretty cool.
Okay. What else has been going on in preseason? I haven't gotten a lot of it, so I'm relying on you.
I got you. Yeah. So I mean, like there's quite a few things. So like CJ Stroud struggled a little more than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, I heard.
You know, Jordan Love looked pretty good. So that's encouraging for, Green Bay fans.
Absolutely.
You know, it's
he has some good talent out there, man. They're not bums out there now. You got some good talent out there. You just
for sure
bring it all together.
Yeah. So I mean, there was definitely good things. Watching the Saints and KC roll their starters out. That Saints offense looked like it could do some work this year. I had them as the before any of this started, I had them as the eventual winner of their division. The division's not very good, but this is the first time Derek Carr actually has a defense, because the whole time he was with the Raiders, they basically had a bottom 3 defense almost every year he was there. And although their offense could put up some points, if he ever made a mistake, you couldn't rely on the defense to get the ball back for you. That's a tough way to win a lot of games. So it's encouraging to see him having, not an elite defense by any means, but having a defense. And, he still has some decent talent on offense. So they're going to be a good team to watch.
That's the part nobody talks about, the defense.
Yeah.
Nobody, they mention talk about him. I'm like, the man he has the kind of numbers, even on the Raiders, that most every other quarterback has.
Yeah.
Whether it be 4,000 yards, whatever it is. I mean, he was doing that part.
Yeah.
His interceptions were more than anybody else's, really. I can think of pretty average interception numbers.
No, that's the thing, right? Like he's not the elite top 5 guys, but he's not, Baker either, right? Like he's that middle tier, right? Like, I mean, Baker's that guy, like he can come win you a game randomly, but then he can also just come lose you a game, right? So,
Tampa's fun.
Yeah. So Anthony Richardson rather.
Oh yeah, how do you do?
So he did exactly what you thought he was going to do.
What I think he was going to do.
he looked. He's athletic. He moved around all right, and made mistakes, short throws, right? Which was yeah. I mean, he threw a laser to the other team in between his two receivers. So I mean, it was one of his first throws of the day. He did settle down a little bit and get a little bit better, but it was kind of what I was expecting to see out of him. There's going to be a lot of mistakes, and his short game is a problem. And unfortunately, in the league, that's a big part of your passing game.
Oh boy.
You don't generally get to stretch the field all day. That's one or two shots throughout the game, and then a lot of it is inside of that 15-yard range. So the one that is a bummer for Niners fans is Lance didn't look great, and their second unit O-line looked like they're going to try and get more quarterbacks hurt. Lance went down. He played he played 4 series. And he got sacked 4 times. His first 3 drives were 3 3-and-outs, and it was like -1 yard. So not a what's that?
Is your second string?
Yeah, they didn't roll their starters out.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, a lot of their offensive line was like second string guys. So their starting units are going to be good. But if they got to filter guys in or dudes get hurt, what they have in depth isn't going to be as effective. So watching if they start to get beat up on the offensive line, that's where they could have some real problems as the year goes.
Okay. We got a question about Richardson from the Herb and Raj podcast. Will Richardson be able to develop in the NFL like he might have been able to do in college? How many years was he in college?
I want to say 2, but
that's what I thought. I'm just not totally sure. Maybe we can look it up. But
yeah, I don't remember.
I mean, this is the only reason why I even know about this is because, well, 2 reasons. One, because the proximity of where we are, we get to see a lot of Florida games.
Sure.
Secondly, some of our best friends are big time Florida. I'm talking about like straight up Gator fans, right? So whenever they're on, they're playing on TV, which is usually a Saturday afternoon / evening most of the time. I can't really talk to them because they're going through some kind of crisis because of what's happening on the field. So that's how I know what's going on. But every game I wouldn't be able to talk to them about the game, so I would tune in to watch. That's what made me watch it. I had no interest until my friends were talking about it. So I would watch it and I would see what you're talking about. Issues with the short game. I would see issues with accuracy on deep passes. Just some decision-making stuff, especially when the pressure's on and when the pocket collapses. I just seen him just making some bad decisions. I mean, maybe now you're chucking the ball and going down, trying to throw the ball and giving up pick sixes. I mean, I watched that stuff so many times over last college football season. And for me, I'm like, those are kind of things that, like you said earlier about a different topic, maybe coaching can fix that if you have some time,
Yeah.
Kind of out of you. I think he was only there 2 years. I'm like, that's not.
He was there for 3. He only played for 2. So his first year, he had, I think it said 1 attempt. So
still case in point, though. It's still
1 completion, 2 attempts.
It's not 3 years, though.
Well, I mean,
it's 2 years.
It just means he was on the team. He just didn't really play. But and
honestly, again, it's not 3 years. Then it's only 2 years.
In 21, he didn't really do much either. He only had 64 attempts for the season. So, I mean, he only had 1 true year of playing. I do think it's something he's going to get better as it goes. I think where he got selected was kind of a disservice because he's going to get rolled out there right away.
He's starting, right?
I mean, we'll see, but probably. But I mean, that's the thing that's a bummer for him because he needs time to develop. Like he really needed this season to be holding a clipboard and learn some stuff and work with the second units and work on that short game that is so important in the NFL. Because obviously the dude has a rocket and can stretch the field. But again, you only get a couple of those every year. So it's, every game. So those short passes, you need to make sure that it's your team, because those can lead to points on the other side real quick if you get intercepted in an out or a flat or a screen or, something like that. Like, there's nobody behind that guy. So if he gets it clean, he's gone. So, I don't know. I feel like, unfortunately for him, he's going to get rolled out there sooner than he's probably going to be able to. It's actually why I thought maybe if he was still on the board, Seattle would take him, just because he'd get to learn behind Geno, and it would be the Seahawks player development is really good.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that would have been one of the ideal situations for a guy like that, amazing raw talent, but needs some work. And I feel like him just getting shoved out on the field. I mean, he's going to get a learn, but it's probably not going to be pretty.
Yeah, that's not the right environment. And I think the Colts got so many problems.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's just that makes it even worse. It's like, I mean, they may not have any prospects to get, into the playoffs. They might not even be their plan,
Yeah.
They could be taking game to game, but it's like, you're going to let that man, he's going to take it on the chin if he starts.
He is.
It's like, is that what you want for somebody who, in my opinion, didn't get enough time in coaching? Urban Rogers podcast said it is 3 years.
Yep.
You can't develop even as a backup.
No,
in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, in college, it feels different to me in college. I feel like you need to have reps and not you can't develop in the sideline. Even some of the guys that were on Michigan, they did like Cade and JJ. They did good as a backup because they got a chance to play.
Yeah, I think
you'd be opening up the wins on opposing teams so much that you can rest your starter and bring your backup in.
Yeah,
that's not happening with the Colts. They're not going to be blowing people out. It's not happening.
Yeah,
they're in disarray to say the least. So you're gonna have that guy.
I believe it's a lot harder. I believe it's harder for guys to develop, especially like a quarterback in the college ranks as a backup. And the only reason I say that is because they're also going to be going out with the second unit, but in college, right? And most college teams have, like high level college teams will have 3 to 5 NFL guys, maybe, right? And ain't none of them on the second unit. So you're not playing with top talent or against top talent when you are a second unit quarterback going against your second unit, third string, whatever. You're just not getting the same looks, at least consistently. I'm sure you get some first team reps, but it's not going to be a ton. And for the most part, you're going against lower talent. So, I mean, yeah, you can develop as a backup. Much harder to do at the quarterback level than if you were a linebacker or a lineman or something like that, because there is a lot of interchangeability with your first and second string guys to get rest and whatever. Whereas, when your quarterback's out there, that's your dude. So, but when you look at the NFL level, your second and third string guys are still All-Americans, right? I mean, your second string and third string guys are still most of the best players on any of the college teams they were on.
Fair enough. You got some love about the Seattle comment. Seattle would have been much better than Indy. I agree. And that's because of the coaching, like you said, player development. Yep. But another question I want to talk to you about real quick. All these first rounder quarterbacks are going to be hurt by having to start this first year, not just Richardson. I'll start. I want you to chime in after this. Honestly, I'm kind of a I won't go as far to say a football purist because I don't not the phrase I want to use, but I think when it comes to quarterbacking, I really feel like those guys should sit for some semblance of time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how good they are, honestly.
Yeah.
I know that's blasphemy to some folks. Like, oh man, he was a top so and so. He should be starting. Okay. The games, yeah, you guys are using the same component, college and pro. It's still a football. It's the same in both of them. Probably the same size, probably the same weight too. But the game is different. It's different. The pacing is different. The speed is different. Even to some degree, the play calling and stuff. The thing they do in college that they don't do in the NFL. I don't know why. It's just different. So more of a play calling variety. You see more things that you don't see in the NFL, and vice versa. I think that they need to have some time to ease into it, at least a year to ease into it. What's the rush? So to answer the question from the Herb and Rob podcast, we love you guys. These guys are on 8 a.m. I'm sorry, 8 p.m. on Monday evenings. I believe it's 8 p.m. CST. I believe.
I'm actually going to hang out with them one of these days.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it should be fun. Should be fun. Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Sorry, they 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so they're I think 7 p.m. on Central. Sorry, guys, if I botched that. My apologies, man. But yeah, I watch them here at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So you do the math. But they got an incredible show. Two brothers that really know sports, man, and it really fun to listen to. So it's now just heard the time is changing. Let me go ahead and drop that right for me. So starting tomorrow, they're gonna be on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. Guess what that means? Now I can join y'all. Yay! But okay, so awesome. I love that. So now they're gonna new programming note for the Herb and Raj podcast. 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, starting on Tuesday, starting mañana. I love it. All right, but how do you feel about the quarterbacks in the first round? Should they start or should they sit for a while? How do you feel about it, bro?
I mean, so I look at it this way. I don't have a problem with them starting. I generally prefer a rookie quarterback to sit just because, just like you said, it's a faster game. Things move a little different. The field is even a little different, right? The hash marks are in different spots. You're used to running things from different spots on the field.
Yeah,
like there's elements to the game that are just little tweaks that you sort of need to get used to. That being said, if the guy just absolutely balls out during practice and preseason and whatever, then yeah, give the guy a start. I mean, that's how Russell Wilson was able to get the start his rookie season. Right? So, I mean, like some guys can come in and do the job. And some of them need to marinate a little bit. Like Josh Allen, it was good for him to sit. And Patrick Mahomes, I think it was good for him to sit, right? Patrick Mahomes got to learn behind Alex Smith. Allen was behind Fitzmagic. Like dudes that have been in the league a long time, know the in and outs of everything, can bring those guys along and then allow their athletic ability to catch up with the league. So I generally like a quarterback to be able to sit. But if a guy comes in and he's ready to rock, I mean, I don't have a problem with it either.
That's the part that I'm not understanding very clearly, because a little earlier you were talking about, the preseason, and the fact that it is preseason, but you can't get too bent out of shape because Walker broke 4 tackles and threw a 20-yard dart for a touchdown. We can't get too bent out of shape. So how is it that we can rationalize somebody balling out in preseason and think that means we should start them? I'm missing.
Well, because the talent level changes throughout preseason, right?
Okay.
So how you can kind of quantify that is if you ball out in week 1, it doesn't generally mean a lot unless the team on the other side of the line also brought their starters out, right? But especially in game 1, people are trying to find their depth on their team for the most part. And so a lot of the guys you're going to face week 1 are guys that are not going to be in the league come week 3, right? Because after, yesterday's games, they're already going to start cutting people because they got to go from this week to the end of the 3rd week from 90 to the 53-man roster.
53. Yep.
Right. So like there's going to be a lot of cuts along the way. So yeah, if you ball out this last week, which again, if both teams are rolling out with their starters, then cool, whatever. But for the most part, you're playing lower talent. But if you ball out week 3, most of these teams have their starters out for the first, on the field for the first full quarter, and then a series or two after halftime, right? Because they want to get a couple of game time situations worked out before they have a week off and the season starts. So if you consistently are killing it through practice and you're doing work through the preseason, then yeah, I mean, you might get qualify for a start. Now, the guy that I mentioned that broke tackles, and he's trying for the third string position on that team. But it's not like he played horribly. Like his last season, I want to say he threw for like 3,500 yards in the CFL. So it's not like he was a slouch in another league. Like, so for him to come down and then show some good things, he's not in any danger of getting that starting slot. Like he's just trying to get on that 53-man roster. And so you look for little elements like that. It's like, okay, he has, the awareness to be able to slip out of a tackle and still looking downfield to be able to make that throw. So there's the intangibles that you're like, okay, if there's mechanical things that we got to fix, we got the coaching staff, but you can't necessarily fix vision, right? And so that's where, when I was watching the Niners game, if you watched Trey Lance, it was actually troubling to watch, especially if we got Niners fans watching. They're probably not going to like this comment, but
probably not.
But the thing that worried me for Niners fans is, one, like I said before, the offensive line looked slow. They were sluggish. The Raiders were running right through that. But the biggest thing is he looked uncomfortable all day, and it didn't look like he was seeing the field very well. So he was holding the ball a little longer than he needed to, which led to because he got sacked 4 times, but I think he was hit another like 9 times. So, I mean, he was under duress the whole time, and a lot of that was his own fault. And
yeah,
so that's not encouraging if you're a Niners fan. Now, some of it you can say, okay, it's rust because he hasn't played in 11 months or something, and he only played for a game, and then it was another almost year before he played his last game the year before. So, I mean, I can accredit some of that to being rusty because you've played 2 games in 2 years. But to the same end, if you're not seeing the field, that's not encouraging, because even if you're hurt, like, you can still be doing mental reps on what you're seeing, right? Because it's not like he wasn't in the facility, he wasn't on the practice field, stuff like that. Like, he was still out there. So if you're having those kind of issues, that doesn't say good things. So then all of a sudden you have a real question, like, who is your number 2? Is it going to be Lance or is it going to be Darnold? Because, Darnold actually looked a little more fluid out there, far less athletic, obviously. But,
I mean, yes.
but I mean, so there's, I don't know. I feel bad on that front for Niners fans because,
I hear you, because I was always out of the 3 of them, I was always a Purdy fan.
Okay.
I love what I saw that he was doing.
Sure.
It sounds like he's not going to be ready for a little while now. So you're talking about the 49ers and the Colts. I see a similarity there. Maybe you don't see it, but I see a similarity with their depth chart, because now we're talking about Richardson, and I went ahead and looked it up. Unofficially on the depth chart, Richardson is starting, followed by Minshew and Ellinger. I'm like, So here's the problem. If Richardson goes out there and stinks up the joint, because the Colts aren't going to be good, you might be going back to those 4-13 days. Mm-hmm. That's probably going to be happening now, or 4-12 back in the day. But now we got 17 games. What happens then? His confidence is shot. You're going to bring in Minshew. I mean, come on, man. Be honest about it. You're going to bring in Minshew, and what's going to happen? Minshew's going to do Minshew stuff.
He's going to win some games. He's going to electrify a crowd.
Electrify a crowd. Is that what we're here for? Or do you want W's?
I mean, people like to watch exciting football, though. That's
why. Do we want W's, Bo? Do we want W's or do we want L's?
The thing is Minshew wins. Minshew is basically the newer version of Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? Like he'll go out there and randomly win you a game, and then he'll also lose you a game because he'll just kind of sling the ball around. So it makes for entertaining football. The problem I have with starting Richardson is it does exactly what you're saying. Like it'll be a confidence crusher if you have to pull him out and put Minshew in. But
let Minshew start.
Well, that's the thing is let Minshew start. And then if he struggles, then that's where you make that position, right? Because it builds up your rookie. You know that Minshew is a bridge quarterback at best. And so he'll fall into that secondary role without too much problem. But if you start Richardson, it's going to be really hard to then bench your fourth overall pick. Like you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? So if you can, you start the guy that you know ultimately is not going to keep the job, and then when it comes time, it also gives him a few games to either come in late in a game if they're getting beat down or whatever. But it allows you to bring him in a way that it's like, okay, well, we saw what this is. It's not going to work. Let's bring our rookie in and, see what we got, as opposed to you start him. And then if you got to bench him and then bring him back, it just, I don't know. It mentally could do that Carson Wentz thing where Nick Foles comes in, wins a Super Bowl, and then he's just never quite the same again.
I feel like they were trying to give Ellinger a chance.
Yeah.
To do that. When they brought Minshew in and said, his chance is over. So it's like they got three quarterbacks. And when you have three quarterbacks, what's the rule? If you have three, that means you have none.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you have
I don't know what this is. This is going to be those two. Now I'm going to start watching them more. Now the Colts and the 49ers, I'm going to watch more because that quarterback situation is a problem in both of those places. Good morning, Tino. Thanks for joining the show, man. We appreciate you, man. Yeah. All right. So, wow. Okay. JT, who's that? Urban Raj, who's JT? Help me out with that real quick. I don't know who you're talking about.
Talk about Jonathan Taylor, running back.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor. Okay, well that makes total sense.
Yeah,
really kind of just exacerbates my point too, because like you want him to stay inside that situation. I mean, the O-line is going to probably be a good one. They usually have some pretty good players and some solid guys. They had Quentin Nelson, other solid guy they got brought in, but they're not winning. It's just not winning.
Well,
like, I don't know. I mean, in the division by itself, just that by itself, they're going to be challenged to win anything.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say this and just go on record because I feel good about it, but I wouldn't bet money. I'm not a gambler anyway, so it wouldn't matter. But I think the Texans are going to be better than what people think they're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor's in a tough spot because it hasn't been great for running backs as of late to miss time and then have a meaningful career later. But I get an apprehension of why you'd want to be out there because that offense is going to run through you, because having an inaccurate quarterback, if he starts making mistakes, it's going to be a lot of and if you're in a contract year and you're trying not to get hurt, having 30 carries a game is not a great way to stay on the field.
Absolutely.
So I get it. Yeah, no, I totally.
You got an owner who says dumb stuff.
Irsay does say some interesting stuff.
Yeah, man, dumb. Yeah, Bo, dumb stuff.
No, a lot of the time. A lot of the time. So yeah, I mean, that's a tough situation. I mean, obviously, the running back situation as a whole is just weird this year. None of them getting paid, right? So. Yeah, just kind of a weird environment for running backs at the moment. So in a self-preservation type of thing, I do sort of get why he may not want to go out there. And of course, why he wanted the trade. It's like, okay, get me out of here so I don't, get super beat up on a team that ultimately isn't going to do great this year.
Absolutely. I heard some places where he was talking about what people speculating he was going to go to. I'm glad he's not going to those places. That'd be ridiculous. Or something like Miami and Philly. I'm like, oh no.
I mean, there's still a chance.
They're dumb. But the great show. We did not touch the Pac-12. So guess what's going to happen next week? We're going heavy college football next week.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for joining us. And don't forget our social experiment, guys. If you are one of those folks who lose your mind during football season and you forget your name, address, and blood type, and you don't know how to act, go to your Twitter, specifically Twitter, guys, with your social media, and type out something, tweet something nice about your rival team. It's like therapy. It makes you feel good on the inside.
I feel like that.
It washes you like rain, make you feel good and wholesome. Type something about your rival team that a nice sentiment. They're a great team. They have a great running back, great quarterback, whatever it is.
They took some really nice L's.
And press in. And press in. No shade, no snarky remarks. It'll help you. It'll make you feel better. Trust me, you'll be a better person as a result. We're going to be talking big Pac-12 and college football next week. I'm excited about that because we got so much stuff going with the Pac-12. My goodness. And out of Mountain West, and now, what's that, the AAC? This is getting legs to it, boy. We're going to have fun next week with this one. Really, really, really interesting stuff. I love it. Uh-oh. Comments about Bo being a diplomat. Yeah. I was trying to get him to be his real self, man, but he wouldn't let me help him, Herb.
Pop over to my Twitter and you'll see.
No, we want you to know you here. This is a partnership. You just open your mouth and speak. But
I did. No, that's why I said what I said about Justin Fields. It was like,
Yeah, that's not the same. You hedged on that one too, but I remember that, and it's recorded so everybody can hear it.
It is.
I'm gonna say 4 more things. The most important words I'm gonna say, then we're gonna sign off for real. No more sports talk. I'm gonna say 4 words. The most important words I'm gonna say all day, probably. It's not gonna be I love you and I appreciate you because I say it to you all the time on Twitter. You guys know I love you guys already. I appreciate you already. 4 most important words, and we're signing off. Jim Harbaugh is free. Jim Harbaugh is free. Wherever you are today, however you're hearing, they call me Mr. U, the podcast. We thank you. Football Talk with Bo and I appreciate you guys joining the show. Keep on listening, keep subscribing, sharing us with your friends and family. We definitely appreciate you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your week. Check out the content on @Football Talk with Bo and They Call Me Mr. U. All week long, something's coming out on your Spotify, YouTube, or your Twitter. All right, so download, subscribe to our show wherever you enjoy your show. And what you got, Bo?
I got 4 words also. Click, like, subscribe.
Click, like, and subscribe. I love it. Thank you, guys. All right, have a great day. Enjoy the show. Coach out.
Take it easy, guys.